So today we're going to talk about area, and more specifically, we're going to talk about the area of rectangles, parallelograms, and triangles, and I'll try to make these notes as short as possible. So first of all, area of a rectangle is simply base times height. So when I look at an example like this one, I know that we're just going to multiply the base and the height, so we're going to get 6 times 3, which is 18. And then this is in inches, so I'm going to write inches. And then with area, you always have to label it squared. So this would be inches squared. Parallelograms are the same basic idea. So it's just a slanted rectangle, so it carries the same formula. It's still going to be base times height. So when I look at this example here, I know that I'm just going to take the base times the height. So area is 8 times 4, which is 32. This is in centimeters, and again, area has to be squared, so centimeters squared. Okay, so on this example, I don't see the same kind of picture we saw in last example. So one little trick you can use is look for this right angle mark here. So that always connects the height and the base. So there's my height and my base. And since this is a parallelogram, we know the opposite sides are the same. So this right side is going to be 10. So this would be my base and this would be my height, even though it doesn't, sit on its base. So the area here is going to be 10 times 5, which is 50 inches squared in this example. Okay, looking at the next one. So again, I look for that right angle mark. That tells you your height, which is 24. And if I follow that along, I can see that the base here is going to be 23. Now, they have this 7 here, but it's not really part of our shape. It's just extra information there. So our area here is going to be 24 times 23, which is 552 feet squared. All right, so now let's look at this next example. So this one is going to be a little bit trickier. So I know that if I look for that right angle mark, that's supposed to connect the height and the base, but it's not giving me that height. But this is a right triangle, and we've been studying right triangles, and we know that we can use Pythagorean theorem, and the box points to our C part. So we're going to have height squared plus 8 squared equals our hypotenuse squared. So h squared plus 64 equals 289. When I subtract 64 from both sides, we're going to get h squared equals 225. And then I square root both sides, and we're going to get that the height is 15. So now, since this is a parallelogram, I know that if the top is 21, that means this whole bottom is also going to be 21. So my area is going to end up being 15 times 21, which is 315 centimeters squared. All right, so triangles use the same kind of thing. It's just triangles are basically half a rectangle. So if you think about a rectangle, a triangle is half of that. So the formula is area equals 1/2 base times height. So if I look at this next example, I look for that right angle box that tells you the height is 30. And if we follow that along, that tells you that the base is 19. So we're going to have 19 times 30 and then divide it by 2, which gives us a total of 285 inches squared, because again, it's area, so we always have to label it with that units squared. All right, so the next type of example, it gives you the area, so it tells us the area, and then we have to figure out a missing piece. So this shape is a parallelogram, so I know area equals base times height. I'm going to fill in the 148 where it says area. The base is 8 and the height is x. So in order to solve for x, we're just going to simply divide both sides by 8. When I do that, I'm going to get a total of 18.5. Now this is not area, this is just a side, so this is just meters. So we don't square it unless we're actually finding the area. All right, this one's a little bit more complicated simply because it's a triangle, but I still start with my formula. So area equals 1/2 base times height. I'm going to fill in the information here so I know the area is 357. And then my base is 34. My height is x. And 1/2 and divide by 2 are the same thing, so I'm just going to say divide by 2. Now, in order to solve it, I've got to get rid of the 2 first. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. And I get 714 equals 34x. Now I just need to divide both sides by 34. And I get x, the height, is 21, and this is in inches, so 21 inches. All right, for this next example, we've got to do a little bit more work. So this says that DeAndre needs enough mulch to cover the triangular garden shown and enough paving stones to border it. If one bag of mulch covers 12 square feet and one paving stone provides 4 inches of border, how many bags of mulch and how many stones does he need to buy? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what the perimeter is. So we're going to have perimeter is just add up all the sides. So we're going to take 23 plus 15 plus 7. And that tells me the perimeter is 45 feet. Again, it's not area, so we're not going to square it. All right, so each stone provides 4 inches of border, and I need 45 feet of border. So I'm going to figure out how many inches this is going to be by multiplying by 12. And I find out that this is really 540 inches. Now I know that each stone covers 4 inches. So we're going to take 540 and we're going to divide it by 4 to figure out how many of those stones we're going to need. And it turns out that we're going to need 135 stones. So we need 135 stones. And the only reason we had to multiply by this 12 is because our measurements are in feet and our stones did inches. So if it's the same label, you don't have to do any conversions. You would just divide. All right, so the second step is to find the area. So area of a triangle we know is base times height divided by 2. So we look for that right angle mark, and that tells you your height. And we follow that across, and it tells us our base. So we're going to have 9 times 7 divided by 2, which gives us a total area of 31.5 feet squared. Now each bag of sand covers 12 feet squared. So we're going to divide this number by 12 because they're both in feet. So if I take that and I divide by 12, we get 2.6 bags. Now I can't buy 0.6 bags. So this is really going to turn into 3 bags. I'm just going to have some left over. So we need 135 stones and 3 bags in order to make this garden. Hopefully that will give you enough information to do the Google form today. And that's all you have to do for today's assignment.